Listen, if you want to grow your YouTube channel faster and your overall business and brand online, you got to work on your personal brand. If you look at The Rock, Elon Musk, you look at those that are leading a business, but also have a strong personal brand, anything they do, they get more attention, they get more impact, and then they also ultimately can drive more revenue. So I'm excited today because our guest on the Grow with Video Live show is Anthony O'Neill. He's a #1 national best-selling author. He's helped over 250,000 people set out on a path toward a debt-free life with his chart-topping book, Debt Free Degree. And he is crushing it on multiple platforms. He's got a hugely influential show called The Table and his awesome YouTube channel. And he's going to be sharing with us 3 secrets really for how we can strengthen and build our personal brands so we ultimately can not just experience more success on social media and YouTube, but make a greater difference in the lives of people. All that and more is coming up today on the Grow with Video Live show. Welcome back to the Grow with Video Live show. My name is Sean Cannell, rhymes with YouTube channel, and I'm super fired up for Anthony O'Neill on the show today. Anthony, welcome. How you doing?
Man, Sean, man, I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on the show today, man.
Man, I appreciate you so much. We're going to get straight into these tips, but if people are just meeting you, can you give a little vision about who you are and what has brought you up to this point of 370,000 YouTube subscribers, impacting people with this powerful personal brand that you built? What's your story in a nutshell?
Man, in a nutshell, my name is Anthony O'Neill, speaker, author, and just a guy who's passionate to help people get out of debt, build wealth, and just really maximize, the season that they're in. 18 years old, made a lot of bad decisions while I was in college. And while I was in college, man, I racked up about $35,000 worth of debt. Parents were upset, made a bad decision in college, kicked out of college, lost my job, lost my income. And because of that, I lost everything, right? And so when I lost everything, I thought I was going home. And my parents like, no, since you've made these decisions, AO, you are going to live with them. And so I was homeless for 6 months of my life. And during that season of my life, I realized that there were a lot of things that I wasn't taught about money. And so I said, hey, when I get out of this season, I'm going to learn everything. I'm going to consume everything. I read books from your Robert Kiyosaki's, from my mentor and friend, Dave Ramsey, the Total Money Makeover, took his course. I'm studying because I wanted to travel around the world and teach people how to get out of debt, how to start the foundation of building true wealth, and really how to just really maximize, the season of your millennial season. And so I'm passionate about that. I talk about that on my YouTube channel, my podcast, and just excited to be connected to you and just learning a lot, man.
Man, so grateful to have you on the show. Just respect your work and especially how you're helping people with their finances and reaching financial freedom, but then also just the behind the scenes of how you've built your brand up. And I'm excited because you have a couple tips today that we'll kind of go through in this conversation. And by the way, if you're just joining the Grow Video Live show, smash the like button. Let me know where you're watching from. And let's kick it off, Anthony, with tip number 1, which you say, build a vision that is bigger than you. When it comes to building your personal brand, you actually want to have a vision bigger than you. What do you mean by that?
When I say that is, Sean, I want people to think about, hey, what's bigger than me? How can I help people? How can I serve people? It can't just be, hey, I want to go out here and start a YouTube channel or start a podcast channel so I can get a bunch of brand deals and so I can make a lot of money. No, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to go after this particular vision, right? And I say this, and your why should be so deep that if your why doesn't make you cry, then the price of commitment to accomplish your vision will make you cry. Okay. And so I tell everyone, like, hey, I ask yourself this question: what is your vision and why is that vision? And then when you identify the why, you should get emotional. My why, Sean, is I grew up watching my mom have the struggle of, because I love you, baby, I'm gonna stay with you. And my mom had to work 3 jobs. They had arguments over money. We were living paycheck to paycheck. And so my vision was I want to help other people not be in debt, not go through struggle of. I want to help other people have wealth so they can raise their kids in a wealthy environment, in a peaceful environment, in a joyful environment, not in a struggle environment, not in a paycheck to paycheck environment. And when I think about that, of what I'm going to provide to my next kids, I get a little emotional. I won't do that today because I want to keep going. But that's what I mean. It can't just be about you, but it has to be bigger than you. It has to be bigger so you can really make a big impact.
Your why should make you cry.
Cry.
If you're watching the show, let me know your why in the comment section. What is your vision for wanting to build your personal brand, your YouTube channel? Anthony, how has that evolved for you? At one point you had 0 subscribers, at one point you had 0 influence. And now today you're at like a mountain top as
Yeah.
we reach levels in business and impact. And then you see that there's even further to go. How did you develop and cultivate your vision for those that are maybe lacking vision? They know they want to be doing this, but things are a little confusing and cloudy. How do you recommend kind of getting clarity?
When it comes to clarity, I would suggest sit down, right? Sit down and really cut off the phone, get off of social media. Tell your boyfriend, tell your girlfriend, I'll call you later. And just really sit back and just sit and just ask yourself, okay, what am I good at? What can I do in my sleep? Like what am I very much so passionate about? Once you write that down, I want you to write it down. Then what I want you to do is go to 3 people that are close to you, whether this is maybe your pastor, whether this is your parents, maybe this could be a friend or somebody, and ask them, hey, what do you see in me? Like, and give them the opportunity to be honest, and then write all that stuff down. And then when you go back home, see what aligns. What did you have written down? And then what did they have written down, and see what aligns. And if something doesn't align, then the next part is I will go to like an accountability partner or a mentor or a coach. For me, it was I have a spiritual advisor, like my pastor. And I say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm sensing. These are what the people who are close to me are saying. This is the vision I'm thinking about going down. What's your thoughts? And that business coach or that spiritual coach or whatever coach is in your life right now, they can really help you fine tune exactly what is the clear vision. Because we're internal, Sean, sometimes we need somebody else to see something in us that can help us really get that vision really fine tuned. And sometimes I think we try to do it on our own rather than allowing someone else to kind of challenge us and poke holes into things and pull out even more.
Wow, that really sounds like clarity and community, that you
Yeah.
don't want to be just developing your vision just by yourself. It's powerful to get alone, even get into prayer, even really get in front of a journal, but then also to refine that with other people. I absolutely love that. And man, you're already dropping so much fire. Hit like if you can get value, but we got to go to tip number 2, which is on when it comes to building our personal brand, impact builds influence, and that produces income. Break down that
Yes.
process for us.
What I see typical influencers and brand people like us, right? We tend to focus on the income, right? We tend to focus on, okay, how much money can I make? How much money can I save? Or how much does this cost? And I'll be honest, Sean, when I first started off in this whole influencer space, I was asking myself the same thing. Okay, how much money can I make? How much, how much, how much, how much, how much? And then I'll be honest and frank, when I got around, my friend and mentor, Dave Ramsey, and was serving at a local church in Jacksonville, Florida, I started noticing that, Dave will always say, if we help our people, we are rewarded with green. And when I started hearing him say, if we just help, if we just serve, then we are rewarded by green. And that is currency, that is dollar. And I was like, okay. So I started teaching myself and telling myself, Anthony, the income's coming. But first, we got to be focused on making something and generating something that is impactful. And then what is impactful now becomes influential. And what's influential now brings you in more people because they're being impacted, and your reward is now income. And so I focus on now every show that I produce, every speaking engagement that I go on, every time I get a deal offer. I've said no to more brands than I've said yes to. Why? Because you have to help me impact my tribe's life. If your product, if your services cannot help me impact my tribe, I don't want you. Just last week, I turned down a brand deal that was offering me 50 grand over a period of 2 months. And I was like, can't do it. I mean, this is not really helping. It's not impacting. And I want everyone who comes across my brand to be impacted because I want to be influential. There's two types of influencers, right? The first kind is an influencer that is impactful, that is getting income. Then the next one is an influencer that's just getting income. They're not impactful. That influencer is not going to last long because your content will produce change in people's life. Change then produces currency. Ooh, I just made that up, Sean. Oh my goodness. I literally just made that up. When you change someone's life, that will produce currency, but it starts with your content. Oh my God. Let me write that down. I literally just made that up.
We got it on the replay. So we'll be able to get, turn it into a tweet and a graphic and then spin that off into your next show. Such powerful principles about just leading with value first. I mean, it's inspiring and I love this. So impact builds influence that produces income.
Yeah.
So who are you impacting? We talk about at Think Media, really the law of money. One of the money laws is your income will be directly correlated to the amount of value that you bring to the marketplace. If you can lead with value first, if you can give significant value, we also just hope to deliver more value than we receive. That's whether goods and services, whether I buy your book, whether I ultimately want to support you through a membership community that people can do on YouTube and as creators through Patreon or channel memberships, or whether I want to get hard goods or services. Anything we ever do transacting for money is we just believe we're giving money in exchange for some type of value. And if we can give massive value, and what's powerful as personal brands, right? If we can give a lot of free value, it builds trust, it can build life change, and then it can lead ultimately to income. It sounds like you're saying that income becomes the byproduct of ultimately impacting people, and that we are best positioned to create a real legacy if we don't pursue money as the first thing. Would you say this? I think people have money mindsets, right? And you're an expert at this. Sometimes it's like we go to extremes. You're saying if money's the only thing we're pursuing, we're not going to last. But what about those that are also, they actually let off the gas too much? Maybe they have some money mindsets. I'm kind of afraid to make money, or I'm afraid to charge what I'm worth, or I'm afraid to sell something, or what if there's some negativity if I put something out there? Can you speak to some money mindsets that you see?
Yeah, one of those is that, Sean, it's the, hey, I'm not going to chase money, but then I don't want to hurt people's pocket. I don't want to charge too much. And I agree. You shouldn't charge what you're not worth. And really, I don't think none of us are really charging what we're worth. I know Sean doesn't. I've purchased some of his courses and I'm like, man, this was worth way more than what I actually paid for. And that's good. But at the same time, you want to be a good steward over your gifts and your talents. And you have those gifts and talents so that you can provide for your home. And so don't go into the mindset of saying, hey, I don't want to charge this price because I don't want to hurt their pocket. Well, no, you need to charge a fair and reasonable rate for your services, for your gifts and your talents. There is something on the inside of you that I need, that Sean needs, that this world needs, or that a community needs. And so don't have the mindset of, oh my goodness, I don't want to pay this much. Another mindset that I have that I've seen is, Sean, that I think hurts a lot of people's pocket. They become a jack of all trades. And it's like they want to help everybody. Oh, I want to help this person, that person, this person, that person. And I don't think that you'll be able to scale long term. So one of the things that I focus on, I want to serve everyone, but I have a target. So like my target when it comes to me is I really want to help the minority community get out of debt and start building wealth. I'm not saying I don't want to serve anyone else, but I make sure that as I'm building content, I am making sure that I am touching a specific demographic. So that way, and targeting them, so that way I can impact them. But here's the thing though, Sean, when we did our study, while I am doing that, I've noticed that I'm still very broad within my particular demographics. I have Caucasians, I have minorities, I mean, I'm very wide. And it was shocking because what I've learned is when you talk about money, you really learn that everyone learns something. But I've learned the reason why I've been able to grow as fast is because I spent time and say, you know what? I see a void. I see something that's missing in this particular community or in this particular area. Let me go fill that void. And then I'm making sure that I'm not excluding anyone from the conversation. And I think if you really want to grow your brand, if you really want to be impactful, find a void, identify your target people and serve them well. And those people will love you, and be okay with not being accepted by everybody. And I think that's a key thing to have.
Wow. You know, that reminds me of a quote from Zig Ziglar that says, "Don't become a wandering generality, be a meaningful specific." And on
Ooh,
the topic of personal branding, I love, Anthony, that you just broke down that it's powerful to have a focus.
yeah.
It's sometimes people are afraid of the word niche or niche because it can feel limiting. But in a world with so many distractions, with so many different channels, with so many different people to follow, by narrowing down your focus, you ultimately are able to stand out. And not only that, it's kind of like it speaks to what you just taught on an impact.
Yeah.
You know, the shotgun versus the laser. If you have a shotgun approach, you can have a wide spread, but it's not going to go very far. Where the laser can go for miles and miles and miles and miles, but it's a focused beam. And
Mm.
so super powerful. I'm excited to get to your third tip in just a second. But as a reminder, y'all, Anthony is one of our speakers at Grow with Video Live 2022. And during the Grow with Video Live show, you can get 5% off tickets still. Now we're about 90% full. And so you're going to want to grab a ticket. The event is a week out, virtual. We don't have a cap, but in person, unfortunately, also, I guess, fortunately, it's already going to be lit. It's going to be crazy. And so we are going to sell out. So you're going to want to make sure if you're on the fence and you want to come to Las Vegas and hear from Anthony O'Neill, Gary Vaynerchuk, Patrick Bet David, make sure to grab a ticket. Growwithvideolive.com. Use promo code GWVL show for 5% off. And check out this quick video if you're just hearing about Grow with Video Live.
This thing is your gateway to get out of the thing that you complain about.
But people would rather complain about how it is than put in the work.
We need to start understanding how big this opportunity is, because for everybody in this room, you will sit back in 20, 30 years and regret if you didn't execute in this era.
It has never been a better time in the human race ever to actually just go all in on you. Regardless of what you're trying to accomplish, you've got to tell the world about it. This is now the world. If you're not betting on this, you're finished. This is your golden era right now. There's never been a better time to be you. This is the greatest golden era of not only business, but life. I desperately want you to win, but this is on you.
May 23rd and 24th, Las Vegas. Anthony O'Neill is one of our speakers. Anthony, we'll get to tip number 3 in just a second, but Gary said a statement at the end of that video. And Gary is known for being really bold, speaking in extremes, but he literally said, like, this is the greatest era for betting on you. Like, this is the greatest era in human history, no less, did he say, you know. But you've been kind of living in this and experiencing that. I wonder what you think about that. I know for me, YouTube, online video, I'm a small town kid, college dropout, didn't have any connections in Hollywood or media or anything. And from making videos in my bedroom, we were able to build a company, and we have 25 team members, and it's just crazy. As we go into this next decade, though, like, what do you feel about the opportunity of this space? And from your perspective, your experience, the people you get to impact, what do you think about when you think about, you know, building a brand and even a business online?
Sean, I would say this: it was the best decision I've ever made. A lot of people, I remember growing up, I thought YouTubers was not a career. I thought it wasn't a reputable, you know, job. But now when I see the opportunities that it has afforded me, oh, Sean, Man, listen, I get to wake up, go downstairs into my basement and work and do what I love to do and make a lot of money doing it. And before we went on live, I told you, I was like, man, this is awesome. You know, I'm experiencing things. I'm like, wow, God, this is I could do this. And I think the best thing for me is it's not just paying for my life. I'm not as big as you as of yet, but you know, I have 3 full-time employees. I'm supporting 3 families, and I could do it comfortably while impacting people's lives. And so I think now was the best time. If you all are watching this, and Sean didn't ask me to do this, but I'm gonna tell y'all right now, get to the conference if you haven't registered to the conference, and you need to plug in with everything that Sean and his team is teaching. Because I'll tell you this much: about a month ago, I sat down with him, and within a matter of 30 days, implementing what I've learned from him and what I'm going to learn in Las Vegas after I get done teaching, we doubled my income on Google AdSense. And so now is a great time to get online with YouTube, with your podcast, because you can, and you will generate a 6+ to 7, 8 figure business simply by just doing what's on the inside of you and impacting people's lives.
So powerful. And I want to get to tip number 3, but you got me inspired when you said, you know, I get up and I just go downstairs. And I want you to explain a little bit about this awesome studio that you have. I pulled up a video here. Just tell us a little bit about the studio that you built and the situation you've set up to work from home.
Yeah. So you know, I was in the market of looking for a home, and so I just moved to the DMV area, right? And so I was looking at stuff. I was like, all right, should I just go buy a townhome and go buy another building? And I was like, so I did the math, and so my accountant was like, no, how about you just go get a bigger home, and we'll be able to write off some of the square footage like in your basement. And so I have a full studio down here, and we came down here and we built a full-blown studio. I'm looking at my teleprompter right now, where you all are. It's with a 6K Black Magic on there. I have about 4 cameras in here. See if I can pull down a mic. I don't know if y'all can see my mic, but my mic is above me. I got lights, and then y'all can see I have, you know, my earpiece in. And so where I could do interviews like this. I do a lot when it comes to news interviews, and I have a great opportunity here, man. And I said, hey, I want to be wise with the opportunity, and I want to save money. So now I don't have a large overhead when it comes to rent. I was able to just get it within inside of my mortgage. And so as I scale, I may have to change, but as of right now, I mean, I literally wake up, brush my teeth, take a shower, eat breakfast, brush my teeth again, and then I meet my team downstairs and we get to work. And we literally have used your format. And it's so simple. We record 1 week out of the month, then my team edits, and then we post our videos. And so we're working real hard for 1 week out of the month. And then 2 weeks out of the month, we're strategizing. What's next? What are we going to put into place? Who are we going to interview? And then here's a good thing about being your own employer, your own employee, right? Is we actually take off a full week of the month, because I want to build a culture and environment to where it's like, hey, we're not working as hard. I want you to spend time with your family. But when we are working, we're focused, we're dedicated, and we've been able to generate, some good revenue. We're doing very, very well, and I'm excited about this opportunity.
Man, so inspiring to see the studio. How many square feet is your studio, or where you are right now?
So the whole thing, we have a waiting area outside, right? So if we look at the studio plus the waiting area where there's a bar outside where people can come and sit down when they're waiting to come in, we're looking at about right at 900 square feet. Then the other part of the basement, I have a little gym down there for me and my staff. We work out throughout that week. And then I have a little movie theater over there. So the studio and the waiting area, which is all separate, has its own entrance, is right at about 900 square feet.
Man, I love it. Well, hey, that was an awesome breakdown. We got tip number 3 coming up. But smash like if you've been getting value, and maybe tag somebody or share this conversation and interview with somebody that you think this would inspire, or some tips they'd find valuable as well. But tip number 3 here for really growing your YouTube channel faster, your online presence faster by strengthening and building your personal brand, is to be willing to live in your uncomfortable zone. Anthony, break that down.
Yeah. There's this quote that says, nothing extraordinary happens within your comfort zone. And it really it makes a lot of sense. And I think a lot of us, the reason why a lot of us don't scale is because we live inside of the comfort zone. True story. I'll make it real quick. It's a little weird story, but follow me here. My teacher brought a frog. She gave us a frog. She said, "Hey, we're not going to dissect the frog. We're going to boil the frog." So we gradually just boiled the frog, right, from 1 to 10, slowly. Frog was jumping around, went to sleep, and unfortunately, we boiled the frog. I raised my hand and I asked the teacher this simple question. I said, "Hey, what happened? Because how come the frog didn't fight for his life?" And she said one good thing. She said, "Frogs get comfortable in the heat." And then as I was growing up, something hit me and said that the frog didn't die in its sleep, it died in its comfort zone. And I think a lot of us really have to understand that the things that are comfortable may not always be the best thing for us. And when I stepped out on my own, it was very uncomfortable. When I hired my first person full time, leaving their job to come work with me, it was uncomfortable. When I just hired another person, it was uncomfortable. When I'm cutting these checks, it was uncomfortable. But I've learned being uncomfortable has made room for me to impact more lives. Now we go back to point number two. When we impact more lives, we're becoming influential. When we're becoming influential, now we're producing income. But sometimes we're not willing to step out. We're not willing to go to Sean and say, "Hey, Sean, just gut check me, rip my YouTube channel apart, tell me what is wrong, tell me what I need to do wrong," because it's uncomfortable to hear what we're not strong at. It's uncomfortable to have a coach, to have an accountability person in your life to gut check you and say, "Hey, listen, you got to do this better. You need to do this better." And I believe if you really want to scale, if you really want to grow your business, if you really want to grow your YouTube channel, then you need to get with someone that's not going to tell you, "Hey, that's a good job only. Hey, this is good, but here are the areas that you need to gut check yourself on. Hey, you need to hire these people. I know it's comfortable seeing your account over here, but if you want your account to go up, you need to make these hires. That's going to, spend more money, and you'll be all right. But don't allow your comfort zone to become your kill zone."
Woo! Powerful words. Someone said that was deep. And actually, if you've got a question, I think we have time for 1 or 2 questions. Post 4 question marks before and after the question so we can see it. Be willing to live in your uncomfortable zone. I want to thank Lewis for the super chat. I decided to get out of my comfort zone. Thank you for sharing that, Lewis. And that is where the magic happens. And you know what's interesting, Anthony, is it really doesn't get easier. You don't just take one step outside of your comfort zone. You have to keep taking steps out of your comfort zone. Our first event, Grow with Video Live. This is Grow with Video Live 5. And our first event years ago, we were in way over our head. It ended up costing us $100,000 at the Red Rock Resort here in Las Vegas. And we lost $20,000. Now, kind of typical sometimes running an event. Overall business was healthy because we knew we could recover from that, as well as there was the brand lift and a lot of other things that happened. It was a huge stretch for us. Some of the things I learned, though, is it didn't kill us. We were able to learn from it, dial down, continue to move forward. But now we're stepping into 2022. We're going to the M Hotel right now. Our P&L statement, which we are hustling to stay up with. Our cost on this event is somewhere around $800,000 so far. Woo! And we're on our way. And we could be somewhere near $1 million. Wow. And it's just crazy 5 years later. And so I could look back, and saying this in all humility, I look back and maybe running a $100,000 event and I wouldn't even break a sweat. But right now I'm sweating a little bit, like we're just new levels. And so I've just kind of learned is that, man, for progress, I think just in life in general, if you want to have another level in marriage, you got to get uncomfortable, maybe be another level of vulnerability. If you want to have another level in business, you got to get uncomfortable. And so I would like to say it gets easier. Maybe it's kind of like a muscle you develop, but every time you come up against a bigger giant, a bigger Goliath, you got to tap back into, power from God and some faith to say, man, the lion and the bear, the $100,000 conference, we're able to do that. But I mean, I think we could take down Goliath. I hope so. Like Jonathan and his armor bearer were like, I don't know, maybe the Lord will be with us. Come on, let's go up against, let's see if we could do this thing. And that's kind of where we are right now. So I love that you shared this. Be willing to live outside of your uncomfortable zone. What was one of the early moves you made? You just made a big one. You stepped out, you're cutting your first checks, 3 people, upgrading your studio, investing money. Go back though. What was an early for those listening? One of those things that, or anywhere on the journey, but one of those times when you had to really, punch fear in the face and get out of your comfortable zone.
Oh man, I think one that's very real and it was an emotional one, right? It was honestly right before. So a lot of people who know me from Dave Ramsey, but a lot of people who found me through Dave Ramsey didn't really realize where I was before. And so I was connected to a very big church in Jacksonville, Florida, about 30,000 members, right, Sean? And all of them clearly looked like me. And I remember being the youth pastor there on the teaching team, teaching every Sunday. I mean, the Jaguars knew who I was, the principals, the mayor. I mean, they were all calling me, right? I was comfortable. I was living a good life. And then I just felt this desire that, hey, I need to serve, all people. And I need to really not just serve people who look like me, but I need to, get out there and serve people who do not look like me. And then I got the call from Dave and his team to come and serve with them. And man, I was like, I was willing to, go over, but I didn't know I was going to go from literally all black to all white. And that's 2 different cultures. Nothing wrong. I love white people. I got white people on my team, but it was 2 totally different cultures. And I was scared. I was like, what? Like Dave and their culture is amazing, but I've never been a part of a company that has a spelling bee competition, that has the battle of the bands. And I'm like, this is cool, but this is not me. Right. And I was like, man, but you know what? I think I had to do that, because if I would not, check this out, you guys, y'all see this plaque behind me. You see this book behind me. I wouldn't be a #1 Wall Street Journal national best-selling author. I would not have impacted over 300,000 lives. I would not have been able to talk to 12 million people every single day. I would not have been able to been on the stages that I've been blessed to be on if it was not for me stepping outside, leaving my comfort zone, and going to work with an amazing man, an amazing team, and being willing to be uncomfortable. I wrote a book that sold over 100,000+ copies. I've been able to be in Success Magazine. I've been able to do a lot of different things because I was willing to be uncomfortable. And I learned a lot. I made a lot of mistakes, Sean, during those 7 years. I learned a lot. But you know what? Because of the years before that and the last 7 years, now, I am able to impact people. And I think a lot of people don't really understand that, hey, yeah, it looks like you're winning, but really you're losing because you're not willing to be uncomfortable. And to hear you talking about, man, $800,000, that's scary. I couldn't even think about that right now in my particular season, but I know it's coming. And here's why I will be willing to step outside of my uncomfort zone, because when that season comes, who's the first person I'm gonna call? Sean. Hey, Sean, I'm about to do this. I'm scared. I'm nervous. Can you give me some wisdom? I got you. And watch this. Sean can give me the wisdom. He'll calm my fear, but I'm still going to be a little uncomfortable. But at least I have wise counsel guiding me and directing me on the journey. And that's what I recommend. When you step outside of your uncomfort zone, do not step out by yourself. When you start a business, do not start it by yourself. Get wisdom, get counsel, get accountability people around you that can guide you along this journey. They won't make it easy, but they will make it easier.
Strong. Let's do a lightning round of questions here. 40 to Happy says, Anthony, how can I build my brand? And it's catered to a specific age group, and then also specifically women. And eventually I want to have courses. Any advice for this question?
I mean, I say start it. I would do the research, make sure that particular age group and that particular and women specifically want it. Now, I'm gonna say this much: women, when it comes to the YouTube world and pretty much buying market, they're golden. Brothers, we have a hard time spending money, but ladies, golden when it comes to spending money. Now, the age group, I would make sure that age group that demographic that you're going after, they need what you have to offer. I think sometimes we get it confused. We think that we're going to force what we want onto them, but we got to make sure that we do the research. See, is there a void? Will they like this? And if there is a void, then we'd fill it. But we can't force people to like what we like. So, I really don't do age groups. But again, I think if you feel called and you feel like, hey, I'm supposed to talk to 20-something-year-olds, just know that every single year you're going to be going after a new market, a new group of people, because every year that age is tracking. So I would say maybe just figure out an age bracket rather than a specific age.
Strong. This is a good question from Danny. And Danny's asking, finding and trusting counselors, or you said get wise counselor, or get coaching, get people around you. You mentioned you're able to talk to your pastor.
Yeah.
But what's the best way to identify a coach or a counselor? And I know that this is a big question, because sometimes even someone hears somebody throw out the word mentor and they're like, where did I get a mentor? Well, Sean's got a mentor. And sometimes I use that word because I have mentors in the books that I read and the podcasts that I listen to, but then also certainly in more formal situations. So this question comes up a lot, Anthony, for those that maybe feel isolated and alone and are looking for that kind of, maybe you could break down the term, but it's like coach, mentor, guide. You mentioned you had spiritual guidance, from your pastor, and that it's kind of a big category that could be overwhelming when someone just says, okay, I want to get help, but where do I start?
Well, let me tell you the first place to start. Exactly what Sean said: books, podcasts, YouTubes. I think a lot of people get it confused that you have to have someone physically talking to you. Here's the truth. I've known Sean before Sean knew me. I've been following Sean for like 4 years. My first camera was bought because Sean told me via his YouTube channel to buy this camera. And as he was growing, as he was elevating his cameras, I was like, yo, I need to do the same thing. And so I would encourage you to lock in, go and do research. If you want to be a speaker, okay, you need to be following John Maxwell. If you want to, get into the money space, you need to go sign up for Dave Ramsey's financial coaching series. Like if find the person that is doing what you want to do, one, follow them. Two, when they offer like an event or a call, yo, you need to be in the room. I'm not saying you need to be in the very front seat. I'm saying you need to get into the room, get around other people who are after the same thing as you. And then what's going to naturally happen, watch this, because now you're consuming their content, you're going to their events, you're getting plugged into their world. Naturally, you're going to find a mentor. If it's not that specific person, you will find someone who can give you what you need. But the problem that I see with people is if you get a mentor, you have to then, from there, you got to trust them. You got to be vulnerable. You got to be honest, and you got to give them the room and the space to respectfully correct you. If you do not give them that room, if you do not give them that space, then you're not going to be successful in your mentors. I have 2 ears, 2 eyes, and 1 mouth for a reason. And when I got on the phone with Sean and he was going through my YouTube channel and he said some things like, hey, this is not as good. This needs to be better. Do this to be better. I just said, yeah. Okay. And I was asking questions, but I was listening more. And because of that, you will see an improvement. So I would encourage you all. And I saw a comment earlier on my computer saying, man, it's hard to find a mentor. It's not really hard if you're open to the fact of you could be mentored through a podcast, YouTube, and books. Now, if you're saying I want someone physically talking to me, then yeah, that could be a little hard, but you got to start in this area.
I want to get to a couple more questions, but Anthony, for those that want to learn more from you, tell us a little bit about your show, The Table, and how people can connect with you.
Man, you can go to anthonyoneal.com. Such a good question right there. And you can go to YouTube, look up Anthony O'Neal on YouTube, look up Anthony O'Neal on podcast. It's called The Table. And we are just really having a real relevant and relatable conversation with everything around money, around getting out of debt, around building wealth. And then also really too, we're starting to get into this whole thing on what are some good channels and how can you start building more wealth. And so I would encourage you to go over there. We're having some real good conversations. It's pretty, it's pretty spicy. Oh yeah. just come check me out.
Yeah, I love it. And I mean, there's a real synergy here too, because of course we want to help you build your YouTube channel, make some money, but it's not just how much money you make, it's also how much money you keep, how
Yes.
much money you invest.
Yeah.
And I love following Anthony myself, always just keeping me on the straight and narrow too, because at any level, you can still blow up your life. At any level, you can still blow up your finances. It's really not how much money's coming in, because if you're spending more than you make, then you can still get into trouble really fast. And
Really
so
quick.
money management is huge.
It is. It is. It is. And I tell them the number one thing to wealth is margin. It's just margin. You know, it's if you have $5,000 coming in and your bills are at 5,000, you can't build wealth. A lot of people think you have to make $100,000, $1 million a year to build wealth. When studies are showing that really, you have accountants, school teachers, police officers, who are making anywhere between $50,000 to $70,000, $80,000 a year. Those are the ones who are becoming millionaires. Why? Because they've created margin. They live below their means. They're investing into, the proper things like your 401ks, your Roth 401ks, your IRAs, paying off their homes, avoiding debt, living below their means. And those are the ones. Think about it. They're making, let's say, $60,000 a year on average, but they're investing, right? So when they retire, they get a pay raise. What do you mean, Anthony? Well, it's simple. If they're retiring with $1.5 million and they're living off of the interest of that, which is going to be about $10,000 a month, he went from making $60,000 a year to now living off of the interest of 10%. That's $120,000 a year. That's $20,000 a month. No, that's $10,000 a month. So, man, yeah, come check out the channel, because we're teaching the practical steps, and really on how you can start this journey. And you're right, Sean. It's not about how much money you make. Your income is important, but the number two thing behind that is your margin. What are you doing to live below your means?
Yeah, and you can, of course, check out links to Anthony's stuff in the YouTube stream of this, as well as the clickable channel name in the title of the YouTube video. If you're watching on Facebook, of course, you can head over to anthonyoneal.com. I want to land the plane on one more question that, especially from someone, Spirals, Kinks, and Coils says, from someone like Anthony who has a book, also has a YouTube channel, you're building out other products and programs. You've been building up different pieces. And I love this question because it says, there's a void that I want to fill, but do you recommend starting with videos on YouTube or a book or both? And so we're talking about personal branding. And when you look at someone like you who has, like, in a way, all the things, you got the studio and the momentum and the podcast and the YouTube channel and the books, and you're continuing to do more as you're further on your journey. Let's go back to the beginning. What do you say someone should do first when they know the direction they want to go? Should they write the book first, YouTube channel first? What do they do first?
Oh, man, I'm gonna say simple. Get your message, build your community, once you build the community, create products and services that impacts that community. And I think you don't want to go write a book and you don't have a community to sell the book to. And so that is one thing that I'm focused on for the rest of this year is I want to build my community a lot more. I have 300 plus on the YouTube channel. I have close to 300,000 on downloads on the podcast, 200,000 on that. I'm trying to get my overall community to 2 million by the end of this year, right? Between emails, Facebook, and all that type of stuff. So this way, when I come out with my next book, I think a lot of people don't understand it. I really want you to think about this, you guys. Trust me. If you build a community, you only need a good solid 2,000 people who are willing to spend $497 on you within that year. That's it. Whether that's on the course at $200 and that's $20 in a book, or you add it up. Think about it. You only really need 2,000 faithful people within your community that on average will spend about $497 on you. That's $1 million. And so if you really focus on just building as much content that is changing people's lives, your community will then grow. When your community grows, so will your currency. And then your currency will then grow because now you're creating products and services that's feeding now your community. And watch this. As you feed your community, the number one marketing tool in the world is not Google AdSense. It's not getting on Facebook and paying ads. It's your community. Now your community is going to say, yo, you need to check out Sean. Yo, you need to check out Anthony. You need to check out such and such. And then now as you're growing, now your income will grow. So it all goes back to number one. Do not chase the money. And really, I'll be honest with you. And Sean, correct me if I'm wrong. You know, I've written 2 books, and those books have not paid me as much money as my courses and as YouTube. I think, in my opinion, books as another layer of just something I can offer my tribe. But writing books, it's a lot of work. And it's not something that I wake up saying, oh, I want to go write another book today. I'm like, do I really have to write another book? But, you know, there is a layer to that adds to your brand. It adds to your name. It adds to your resume. And I will write another book probably the end of next year. But at the end of the day, I'm focused on YouTube, podcasts, and courses. And so the rest of this year, all I'm doing is saying, hey, you know what? I told my team, we're going to really maximize YouTube and podcasts right now. That's our number one thing. We're going to start in our second course towards the end of this year. Then we'll launch it next year. Once we launch that, we're serving the community. Then we'll start the book. But right now, I make way more money serving you all on YouTube and then also creating courses. I mean, you can create a course, and if you do it right and it's impactful, the course actually has some meat to it. It's changing people's lives. You guys, listen, do the math. You can make $1 million just from 2,000 people taking your course at $497. So if I was you, I'm focusing on how do I build something that is so impactful, that is changing so many lives? How do I build a community that is stuck with me because they know everything that I push out, everything that I say is for them? It will work. But here's the thing, and I'll be quiet because I'm a preacher at heart, so I can talk all day long. Everything starts with your character. And so if your character is funny, if your character is, I just want the money, please believe the people in your community will know that. So make sure before you do anything, before you build any community, make sure you build your character. Make sure you're a young man, a young woman of integrity, young man, a young woman of character, and then watch everything impact and grow from there. Put the book on pause, build your community.
Woo, man, that was a whole just spitting fire at the entire end there. And I love this idea. And Anthony, this is one of the reasons why I love you so much is you're world-class in your advice. You've brought excellence. I mean, just look at your studio, look at the details of your business, your brand. But we have that similar value and similar ethic that really the foundation of building a strong personal brand that lasts. It's building your character first. Man, you just got me fired up with that. And I'm so grateful. If you happen to just be joining on to this stream, definitely catch the replay. So many gems were dropped. Anthony dropped 3 specific tips. He broke down just the best really business model when it comes to building a personal brand online there. We learned a little bit about his studio. And so check all of that out. And if you want to learn from Anthony as well as so many other great speakers, growwithvideolive.com is coming up in just a week. If you want 5% off tickets are almost sold out. Use the promo code GWVL show when checking out. We got Gary Vaynerchuk. It's pretty crazy, but we really dialed in to run a show. We got Alex and Layla Hermosi, Patrick Bet-David, Ryan Pineda, Brett Knutson, Vanessa Lau, Heather Torres, Anthony O'Neill, Jasmine Starr, The Row Show Live, Shalene Johnson, Pat Flynn, Omar El Takori, Benji Travis, Aaron On Demand, and so many more. And so if you want to check out the entire lineup, that's all at growwithvideolive.com. And you can check out links in the description down below. Anthony, thank you so much for joining us today on the Grow with Video Live show.
Thank you, man. It's such an honor.
This thing is your gateway to get out of the thing that you complain about. But people would rather complain about how it is than put in the work.
We need to start understanding how big this opportunity is, because for everybody in this room, you will sit back in 20, 30 years and regret if you didn't execute in this era.
It has never been a better time in the human race ever to actually just go all in on you. Regardless of what you're trying to accomplish, you've got to tell the world about it. This is now the world. If you're not betting on this, you're finished. This is your golden era right now. There's never been a better time to be you. greatest golden era of not only business, but life. I desperately want you to win, but this is on you.